Hello, world, and hello, amazing Philippines. Good day. Welcome to our online class. And for today's lecture video, we have, of course, the e-portfolio as an assessment tool and as a communication medium. But before we start, may I invite you all to please subscribe, of course, click like, share, and leave, of course, a comment in or a message in the comment section. For our learning outcomes for today, we have, of course, number one, to explain what an e-portfolio is. Second is discuss the learning theory that supports the use of an e-portfolio. The third is distinguish among the types of an e-portfolio. The fourth is discuss how to use e-portfolios effectively. And of course, lastly, to create e-portfolios. According to Geoff Rebick, e-portfolio is, of course, the central and common point for the student experience. It is a reflection of the student as a person undergoing continuous personal development, not just, of course, a store of evidence. Let's have, of course, the meaning of e-portfolio. It is a digital collection of course-related work, like, of course, essays, posters, photographs, videos, and artwork, of course, created or done by students. And e-portfolio documents and makes, of course, visible students' learning. E-portfolio also is, of course, both a product. When we say, of course, a product, it's a digital collection of artifacts and process, okay, of course, reflecting on those artifacts that what they, of course, represent. So again, it is both process and product. Let's have, of course, the learning theories associated or behind with e-portfolio. So the first year is, of course, constructing knowledge. E-portfolios fall within, of course, a learning theory known as social constructivism, which states that learning happens most effectively when students construct systems of knowledge for themselves rather than simply receiving information presented. So what's important is, of course, students can construct system of knowledge or their own systems of knowledge. The second one is, of course, making learning visible. So according to Bass and Anon in 2009, describes the process of critical reflection that is involved in the creation of effective e-portfolios as one that makes invisible learning visible. We have, of course, this word invisible learning. So it refers to two things. The first is the intermediate steps that occur whenever a student or any person is attempting to learn something or to do something. The second one is, of course, the learning that goes beyond the cognitive to include the affective, the personal, and issues of identity. Okay, the intermediate and, of course, visible steps of learning and, of course, doing before the product. There is a learning how to do better the next time and learning more deeply tend to be overlooked as one gets focused exclusively on the final product. The other aspects of invisible learning is affective in nature. Process of learning something doesn't, of course, involve just the rational mind. Rather, it talks about feelings, personality, and sense of self, which are all, of course, involved. Of course, by reflecting on those affective, personal, and self-identity factors, students can develop metacognitive skills that can enhance their learning. Again, by reflecting on those affective, personal, and self-identity factors, students can, of course, develop metacognitive skills that can enhance their learning. Let's have, of course, this learning theory, the third one. We have, of course, fostering student activity. Finally, because of e-portfolio, are a student, of course, centered activity one in which the learner is free to choose what artifacts are included and is free to reflect on the process of learning. So these, of course, foster engagement and motivation on the students. Again, it fosters engagement and motivation to students. We have, of course, the types of e-portfolio. So the first one is, of course, the school-centered e-portfolio. It is actually administered by the school for summative assessment purposes, while learner-centered e-portfolio serve the formative purpose of assessment for learning. They help, of course, learners assess themselves in the process of teaching learning. The second one, or the second first type of e-portfolio is the assessment e-portfolio or the assessment. Okay, of course, here it is meant to support, of course, assessment of institutional school outcomes, and of course, they're intended for, of course, a school as a whole. So the second again is assessment e-portfolio. The third one is we have, of course, the learning e-portfolio. These are meant for learners to help them examine and reflect on their own learning. Lastly, okay, the four types of e-portfolio is the career or transfer e-portfolio from, of course, the word itself. These are meant to provide students with a tool for showcasing their achievements to employers or transfer institutions, supposing they're going to apply for a job or to probably transfer to another school or shift to another course. Okay, so to ensure, of course, that e-portfolio are used most effectively, we have, of course, the best practices in the use of e-portfolio. So when e-portfolios have broader institutional uptake, students will be encouraged in all of their courses to use their e-portfolio and, of course, to reflect on and make connections between all of their courses and academic experiences. So we have, of course, the best practices. The first one here is explain the benefits of the use of e-portfolios to students. E-portfolios, of course, can help learners develop new or deeper learning, which results in higher grades and help learners develop a better sense of themselves as students and as individuals. I really like these, no? These explain the benefits of the use of e-portfolios to students. Why? Of course, it can probably help students to have or to get higher grades and, of course, help learners to develop a better sense of themselves. Second one is we need to establish clear expectations rather. So we need to explain to students what you expect them to do in their e-portfolio. So our instruction is really important. So there is the need for them to reflect on their work and make connections, of course, between different lessons and experiences. The other, number 3, need to provide numerous examples of successful e-portfolios created by students. Direct a student, of course, to examples of effective e-portfolio, like Inkless, our project-focused e-portfolio, or these e-portfolio by knowledge integration that features course skills, spotlights, and more. The next, or number 4, is the scaffold. We need to scaffold, of course, student learning. So we need to help students start small, ask them to choose just one artifact, such as, of course, an essay example, and have them reflect on the challenges they had to address as they wrote their essay, or have the students select 2 assignments from different subjects and have them reflect on how each of these assignments help them to better understand the assignment. Number 5 is that walk the talk. And of course, we need to create an e-portfolio for yourself and share it with your students. You'll probably better understand the challenges and benefits of maintaining an e-portfolio. It will also persuade students that is a useful endeavor. Number 6 is tie e-portfolios to assessment. Maintaining an e-portfolio demands a significant amount of time and energy from students, and they will resent it if their time and energy are not reflected in their final grade. If e-portfolios are, of course, merely an optional assignment that is encouraged but not, of course, required, most students will not undertake one. Lastly, make it social. Integrate, of course, viewing and commenting on other students' e-portfolios as part of their assessment. You could, of course, for example, have a link to each other's or each student's blog in the online space that your course has in your school's LMS or learning management system. So the e-portfolios then become an integral part of the online community of students. And according to Adam Rothman of Georgetown University, refers to this approach as the hub and spoke model. Okay, what probably you will ask, what are the files to include in an e-portfolio? So the first is, of course, the text files. Okay, and it displays students thinking. The second one is image. It conveys, of course, a message without words. Sound that shows oral communication skills or represents a student's interest or project. And of course, video displays student presentations and of course, performances. For our basic equipment for an e-portfolio, which I assume that all of you have, of course, these. We have, of course, our computer or our cell phone. We need also to have scanners, supposing you have printouts or hard copies of document that you need to scan. We need also to have our digital camera, but supposing you don't have digital camera, our cell phone can do. And of course, multimedia software programs such as Word, PowerPoint, and so on. Okay. Then we have, of course, lastly, we have, of course, the reflection. So in e-portfolio or even in a traditional portfolio, we need to have, of course, reflection. So we need to reflect with our activities, the tests that we have, even, of course, our projects and so on. So when I say, of course, a reflection, it is a major element in a portfolio, whether it is online or not, and is the writing, of course, through, of course, the writing of the reflection. And it is, of course, thinking aloud, a way of documenting what they are thinking. And portfolio can show, of course, the process of students' work. So we have here, of course, the Gibbs reflective cycle model in 1988. Okay, and it started with, of course, description, wherein, of course, you will ask what happened. Then the next is, of course, feelings, that talks about what were you thinking and feeling. Okay, the third, of course, steps here is the evaluation, and it answers, of course, the question, what was good and bad about the experience? So supposing you have, of course, good scores, it belongs to here. But supposing if you have, of course, low scores, or probably you don't you have, of course, some missing activities, or you did not submit probably the activities. Okay, probably you will ask here in the evaluation. So what was good and bad about the experience? The next is, of course, analysis. Okay, it answers what else can you make of the solution. So we need to analyze what can we probably do to address. And of course, we need to have our conclusion as the next step. Okay, it answers what else could you have done. So probably if you're going to have conclusion, if supposing you have 3 mistakes in a midterm exam. So if you're going to reflect, probably that 3 mistakes will become, of course, perfect. Then you have, of course, action plan, and you are going to answer if it rose, if it is, or if it rose again, what would you do? Okay, so you need to, of course, to have the action. Supposing you have the same scenario, so okay, you need to have, of course, the action. Again, we have, of course, the 6 steps in the Gibbs reflective cycle model. The first is description, talks about what happened, the feelings, what were you thinking and feeling, of course. evaluation, what was good and bad about the experience, analysis that talks about what else can you make of the situation, conclusion, what else could you have done, and lastly, of course, action plan. That probably talks about if it rose again, what would you do? So a good, of course, portfolio will include the reflection. Okay, so here are, of course, our references for today. You can, of course, search also the net for some additional information. Okay, this is Sir A. Okay, and of course, saying thank you very much for today. Don't forget to, again, subscribe, like, share, and of course, comment or a message in the comment section. God bless everybody. Thank you.